Hi, good afternoon. Thanks for tuning into Times Now. I'm Kritsween Balia, and we start with a mega news break this afternoon. Viewers, 5 years since they fled Myanmar, now lakhs of Rohingyas are squatting in the Cox's Bazar region of Bangladesh. And Bangladesh is not alone. India too has a Rohingya problem, remember. On its very soil, these squalid living conditions have raised concerns not just over disease but about larger security dangers. First up, take a look at the special report.
Five years since they fled Myanmar, lakhs of Rohingyas are squatting in the Cox's Bazar region of Bangladesh, and they have clearly overstayed their welcome.
For us, it is a big burden. In our country, we have 1.1 million Rohingya.
Bangladesh is not alone. India too has a Rohingya problem on its soil.
अगर हम आंकड़ों की माने तो यहाँ इस समय 13,000 के करीब जो रोहिंग्या हैं बसे हुए हैं, जिनमें से 5,086 के करीब जम्मू में रह रहे हैं, 600 से ज्यादा सांबा के इलाके में हैं, कुछ कठुआ के इलाके में और 7,000 से ज्यादा जो रोहिंग्या हैं कारगिल और लेह के इलाके में। अब सवाल ये पैदा होता है कि इतने वर्षों में रोहिंग्या सारे इलाके छोड़ते हुए जम्मू में क्यों आके बस गए?
Their squalid living conditions are raising concerns. Not just over disease, but about larger security dangers. Fears that are being voiced by none other than the Bangladesh Prime Minister.
In the camp, they are staying. Our environment hazard is there. Some people engaged in drug trafficking or some arms conflict, women trafficking. Day by day, it is increasing. So, as quick as they return home, it is good for our country.
India too must take note. The illegal immigrants from Myanmar have set up homes in Sunjuan, close to the military station. A Times Now investigation has revealed these Rohingyas have been making their way to Jammu since 2010 by grazing farms on the eastern border.
आप किस जगह से आए थे, कैसे आए थे?
म्यांमार से, बर्मा से।
म्यांमार से आए थे। आपने बॉर्डर कहाँ से क्रॉस किया था?
ये कोलकाता का तरफ से।
कोलकाता की तरफ से। तो कोलकाता से बॉर्डर क्रॉस कैसे करने दिया आपको?
वहाँ बांग्लादेश का कोई आदमी होती है,
हाँ,
इंडिया का कोई आदमी होती है, मेरे ख्याल में वो लोग लेन देन करती है।
पैसे लेते हैं आपसे?
पैसा लेते हैं।
कितना लेते थे आपसे? पैसे कितने लिए थे
उसी टाइम तो कम था, एक आदमी से 5,000 6,000 रुपया लेता था।
5,000 जो एजेंट थे, एजेंट ने आपसे 5,000 6,000 लिया। हाँ, फिर वहाँ से क्या बोलते हैं?
उधर बोला जो जाओ गाड़ी में बैठो, कि वहाँ मुसलमान बहुत है, वहाँ तुम्हारे को सुकून मिल जाएगा, कहीं न कहीं तुम्हारे को ठिकाना मिल जाएगा।
Over the years, they have spread to several parts of Jammu and even moved to Kargil and Leh. While they hold UN refugee cards, they have been committing frauds to alter that status.
में एक जरूरत ये भी है प्रॉपर वेरिफिकेशन की जरूरत है कि कुछ ऐसे रोहिंग्या भी हैं जिन्होंने आधार कार्ड बना लिए हैं, कुछ ऐसे रोहिंग्या भी हैं जिन्होंने अपना नाम वोटर लिस्ट में भी दर्ज करा दिया, यानी कि करप्शन की वजह से ये रोहिंग्या जो कि अवैध रूप से यहाँ रह रहे थे, अब भारत के सिटीजन भी बन चुके हैं। यहाँ के आपने वो आधार कार्ड वगैरह बनाया, वोटर कार्ड नहीं बनाया?
हम लोग का वही कार्ड है, सिर्फ यूनियन का कार्ड,
वही वाला यूनियन का कार्ड है आपके पास। बाकी कुछ लोगों ने तो बना लिया, यहाँ पे कुछ लोग जो पकड़े भी गए जिन्होंने
बनाया था, जो यूपी में उधर इधर जो रह रहा था आदमी उसी वजह से बनाया था, लेकिन यहाँ रहने का लिए नहीं बनाया था। कोई जगह में जाने वक्त समझ लो गाड़ी का सीट नहीं मिलता, कई जगह में रूम नहीं देता, यूनिसेर का कार्ड लेकर रूम नहीं देता, गेस्ट हाउस में जो अगर कोई रहना सहना होता तो नहीं मिलता, इस वजह से बनाया। अगर हम देखो एक आदमी ने बनाया था, उनका पूरा फैमिली नहीं बनाया था, तो वहाँ यहाँ थोड़ी रहेगा। अपना मुल्क जो है ना सरदार
मैं समझ गया, जैसे आधार कार्ड बना लिया, जैसे आधार कार्ड बना लिया,
किसी का बोर्ड में आकर बनाया होगा, तुम इससे गाड़ी ले सकता, इससे अगर कई जगह में गटो ले सकता, अगर किसी जगह में जाकर अगर तुम्हारा कोई पैसा होगा तो अकाउंट भी बना सकता.
Illegal immigrants committing illegal acts to mingle into the population, possibly to conceal their more sinister designs.
जिस तरीके से शेख हसीना ने भी अपने उस बयान में बताया कि ये किन किन कारनामों में मुलविस हैं जिसकी वजह से उनके लिए भी ये खतरा बने हुए हैं, तो यही बात है भारत के लिए भी इस समय ये बहुत बड़ी चुनौती बना हुआ है सुरक्षा एजेंसियों के लिए, खास करके क्योंकि ये जम्मू कश्मीर का इलाके की बात करें तो ये सरहदी इलाका है, यहाँ पे इनका बसना कोई इत्तेफाक नहीं हो सकता. अमित भारद्वाज के साथ प्रदीप दत्ता, टाइम्स ऑफ भारत के लिए.
Let me first up straight away go across to Pradeep Datta joining us with more details. Pradeep, you've been leading that investigation, getting us all those voices to really put this crisis in perspective for us, and what really does it mean for India? If we talk about Jammu and Kashmir in particular, this is certainly concerning because, you know, as is the concern for many other nations, these illegal migrants are more vulnerable to getting recruited by terrorist organizations. That's also a stated fact, and that's exactly why India is also very closely monitoring the situation.
See, one has to understand why these Rohingyas are considered to be a security threat. Reason is that, see, all the way from the eastern border, these people have come and settled in Jammu region. And Jammu is a border belt. And most of these Rohingyas have settled near military installations, security installations, or in the border belt. So the question arises, if they've had to come and settle in the Muslim-dominated areas, why did not go to Kashmir Valley? Why they settled in Jammu region? That is one of the reasons that the security agencies feel that there is a bigger Islamist design, and that's one of, as a part of that design, they had been made to settle here. And look at this Sunjwa military station, because the place from where I was reporting, this is called the Batindi area, which is just close to Sunjwa military station. And on Sunjwa military station, we have seen that there are 3 Fedayeen attacks have taken place. Security agencies suspect that on one of the occasions, these people have provided shelter to terrorists who had come to target the Sunjwa military station. Though they do not have evidence in this regard, that's one of the reasons they were not able to apprehend any person. But yes, there are indicators that how Lashkar-e-Toiba as well as Jaish-e-Mohammed, they are trying to exploit these Rohingyas. They want them to be used for terror-related activities. And we have seen that on several occasions, these people have also managed to get Aadhaar card, they have managed to get the voter list. So if they are putting up here, fine, they are the aggrieved section of society, then why they are indulging in those illegal means, wherefrom they had been able to manage those Aadhaar cards. So if you are getting Aadhaar card, that means you become the citizen of the country. So that's really very dangerous, because if you include your name in the voter list, again you become the citizen of the country. Just spending few rupees, they become the citizen of the country. I think this is a bigger matter that needs to be properly investigated. Who are the officials who had really helped them?
It's already a big security concern, but now with these kind of details coming to light, with how they're going ahead with fake Aadhaar cards, voter ID cards, also puts the spotlight back on the corruption means that really need to be looked at. Thank you for that, Pradeep. Let me quickly bring in Ratan Sharda and Tausif Ahmed, both of whom are joining us on this broadcast to take this forward. Mr. Sharda, if I could begin with you. Now, India is the home to the largest number of refugees in South Asia, as many reports have stated, yet it does not have a specific legal framework to deal with the problem. So is this crisis an opportunity to put in place a law relating to the status of refugees? Is it high time? Because the kind of means that are being used by these refugees to claim themselves to be Indian citizens is extremely worrisome.
See, there are too many issues that have come up during your presentation. One is that the Rohingyas who come from Myanmar, nobody's questioned Myanmar why they are not taking back Rohingyas. 2, while they get refugee status, there is a lot of hue and cry by their supporters in India. Hindus, Sikhs coming from Pakistan, persecuted there. Nobody in the world has raised voice against Pakistan for this persecution, nor the so-called seculars, leftists are ever worried about them. 1 million Hindu Pakistanis from Pakistan who came to India in 1947, they were without any state citizen privileges for 70 years. Nobody worried about that. Now, secondly, so hypocrisy. Secondly, when you talk of this corruption, biggest threat to India is corruption. How does not only corruption and also sleeper cells, how does the person from east of the border reaches all the way to Jammu unless there are hideaways on the way, or there are hideaways on the way when somebody reaches Bangalore or Tamil Nadu? So there is a support system, the sleeper support system, which the intelligence agency must check, must check out why they are getting this kind of support, who is giving the support. Obviously, there are people giving the support, otherwise you cannot reach all the way. Thirdly, the people who cry about such a thing, as you said, Jammu, they have chosen Jammu. I do not understand why we can have bulldozers in normal states, but we can't have bulldozers in places like Jammu, where they're specially sitting down near the military installations. What stops the government from being very strict and removing that whatever cost? When does that become a very big human story, but not other stories where people are suffering? So this kind of hypocrisy, this kind of double design, and this kind of lack of will from the officials, from the government, and also the corruption issue are a huge issue. And of course, laws are required, but what will laws do if people are there to break it?
Okay. Tausif Ahmed, do you believe there's a need for a proper verification now, perhaps because there are some Rohingyas, as has been pointed out by Pradeep in the report as well, who've made Aadhaar cards. Some of them have got their names in the voter list as well. So the means of corruption that are really being used and are allowing the Rohingyas to extend their stay in India, extremely illegal and must be looked at the earliest.
Absolutely, there is a need to regulate their stay. Now, let me just give one clarification. I heard your reporter saying that since they have acquired Aadhaar card, they have now become citizen of India. Legally speaking, just having Aadhaar card does not make anyone a citizen of India. Now, yes, there are proper documentation. United Nations Refugee Agency has also guidelines which provides that, yes, these refugees should have ID cards. And what are those ID cards? That should be processed. I am totally in favor of that. You see, what we have seen in recent stories tracking over the Rohingyas movement is that this government, BJP government, has a complete policy paralysis. They don't know what to do, how to deal with the Rohingyas staying in India. We have seen that the housing minister's tweet recently, which said that India has always welcomed those who have refuged, those who sought refuge in the country, and that they were going to shift them to a housing colony. Later on, what happened? There were huge, widespread condemnation from factors like VHP and Bajrangan and RSS and all that. And then the tweet came from the Home Ministry that no such decision is made to shift them from camps to flats. You see, therefore, there's lots of confusion. The government acts only under pressure.
No, but the clarification had come in from the MHA. Tausif Ahmed, the clarification had come in and the opposition kept going on about it even thereafter.
Came from Ministry.
Let's focus on, what our report reveals and what is of utmost urgency here. And for that, let me go across to Pradeep once again. Pradeep, of the people that you've spoken to, of all of whom who are staying in parts of J&K illegally, how is it that you figured out, and what is it that they are actually opting to get out of the proper course of law, and how is it that they're finding their way through these Aadhaar cards and voter IDs?
See, the problem is that in the past we have seen that the political parties like National Conference and the PDP, they had been completely silent over them. As Ratan Sharda rightly pointed out, because West Pakistan refugees, Hindus who came out to this place because of the persecution in Pakistan and how they were targeted, killed, their families were raped, and they came out to this place. And for 70 years, they were denied the basic right to vote. They could not send their kids to colleges because they were not having the right to vote in the assembly elections. So they were treated like second-class citizens, but everybody was beating chest for these Rohingyas, illegal immigrants who were indulging in illegal means. And when I say they became a citizen of the country, I want to tell our panelists that why I'm saying, because outsiders can't get the right to vote. When you get a right to vote, because you include your name in the voter list, you get an Aadhaar card, you include your name in the voter list, automatically you become the citizen of the country, because you don't need rocket science to understand this thing. See, what is a matter of concern is that there's a syndicate that is working on Bangladesh side, there's a syndicate that's working on Indian side, and with the help of that syndicate, those agents, they had to pay money, and they're made to sit in the Sialda train. They did not got down neither in Bihar, nor in UP, nor in any other state, but all the way they came out to Jammu region. They were told that this is a Muslim majority area. The reality is that Hindu-dominated area, and then again they're made to settle near army installation, police line, near railway track, and then in the border belt. So there is some kind of a design what actually the security agencies are suspecting. That's one of the reasons on several occasions they have raised alarm bell, and now when then they get Aadhaar card and also they include their name in the voter list. That again becomes a matter of concern. But the problem is that everybody, there had been NGOs who had been supporting them. There had been organizations coming far off from Kerala and Karnataka. They were also coming and supporting them. So I asked this question also to them. He said that what you are doing, he said that we have opened a madrasa. All of us are contributing about 20 rupees. We want our kids to study Arabic. We want our kids to study Quran. There is no problem studying Quran. But see, they are not moving their kids toward the basic education, but all they want them to get radicalized, because this section becomes quite vulnerable. And we know when we have a neighbor like Pakistan and we have organizations like Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Toiba, they're always looking for such people where they can indoctrinate and brainwash young minds and then can use them against India. And especially at a time when they are putting up near the military station, same military station Sunjwa, that has been attacked thrice by Jaish-e-Mohammed Fedayeen terrorists who came over to this side. They attacked the station. And when last time there was an attack on the Sunjwa military station, intelligence agencies had input that yes, they stayed somewhere near the Rohingya camp. Somebody had provided shelter, but they were not having a clear-cut evidence. That's one of the reasons that they were not able to lay hands on them. But there had been several accounts where we have seen that how they had been indulging in illegal trade, how they had been indulging in so many other things. But the problem, the matter of concern is that their population, see, initially when the assembly gave the figure, it was about 6,000, but their numbers have swelled over the period of time. Somewhere I think our agencies were also caught napping. They were not able to maintain that proper record. And most of these Rohingyas, now they have also mingled with the population. They are working at several places. So now it has become a little bit more difficult. I think that's one of the reasons the petition has been filed in the High Court, Jammu and Kashmir High Court. And now the Chief Justice had directed, in fact, the government to maintain a proper record verification and try to find out how many Bangladeshis and Myanmar people are putting up here in India, because that proper record is to be maintained, especially in a region like Jammu and Kashmir that has suffered a lot because of Pak-sponsored terrorism for the last 32 years. I think that's one of the reasons that it's a matter of concern. It's not about any particular community or that we are against any particular region or faith. But yes, when it comes to the security, nothing can be more important than security of the country and security of the nation. I think that's where everybody has to speak in one voice. The problem is that even we try to politicize this issue, start looking at the things with the communal glasses. This is not the issue to be looked with the political or communal glasses. I think we need to look at this issue with the security glasses. Only then we'll understand. So I agree with what actually Mr. Ratan Sharda rightly said, that we were not able.
And that's a confession that has been made by Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina as well, very recently during her visit to India, wherein she said that in the camps that where they're staying in Bangladesh also, they're facing environmental hazard there. Some people are engaged in drug trafficking, some in arms conflict and women's trafficking. Now in India, of course, this is a big security concern. Thank you for sharing that perspective, Pradeep, and also to our panelists joining us here on this broadcast. Let's quickly once again put out that detailed report, but because it exposes the illegal means that are being obtained to cross over to India, and how we are seeing more and more of these illegal migrants now cross over to India and find their way in Jammu and Kashmir. Sensitive border belts is where they are now more and more increasingly being found. So let's quickly play out that report once again.
Five years since they fled Myanmar, lakhs of Rohingyas are squatting in the Cox's Bazar region of Bangladesh, and they have clearly overstayed their welcome.
For us, it is a big burden. In our country, we 1.1 million Rohingya.
Bangladesh is not alone. India too has a Rohingya problem on its soil.
अगर हम आंकड़ों की माने तो यहाँ इस समय 13,000 के करीब जो रोहिंग्या हैं बसे हुए हैं, जिनमें से 5,086 के करीब जम्मू में रह रहे हैं, 600 से ज्यादा सांबा के इलाके में हैं, कुछ कठुआ के इलाके में, और 7,000 से ज्यादा जो रोहिंग्या हैं कारगिल और लेह के इलाके में। अब सवाल ये पैदा होता है कि इतने वर्षों में रोहिंग्या सारे इलाके छोड़ते हुए जम्मू में क्यों आके बस गए?
Their squalid living conditions are raising concerns, not just over disease, but about larger security dangers. Fears that are being voiced by none other than the Bangladesh Prime Minister.
In the camp they are staying, our environment hazard is there. Some people engaged in drug trafficking or some arms conflict, women trafficking. day by day it is increasing. So as quick as they return home, it is good for our country.
India too must take note. The illegal immigrants from Myanmar have set up homes in Sunjuan, close to the military station. A Times Now investigation has revealed these Rohingyas have been making their way to Jammu since 2010 by grazing farms on the eastern border.
आप किस जगह से आए थे, कैसे आए थे?
म्यांमार से बर्मा से।
म्यांमार से आए थे। आपने बॉर्डर कहाँ से क्रॉस किया था?
ये कोलकाता का तरफ से।
कोलकाता की तरफ से। तो कोलकाता से बॉर्डर क्रॉस कैसे करने दिया आपको?
वहाँ बांग्लादेश का कोई आदमी होती है,
हाँ,
इंडिया का कोई आदमी होती है, मेरे ख्याल में वो लोग लेन देन करती है,
पैसे लेते हैं आपसे?
पैसा लेते हैं।
कितना लेते थे आपसे? पैसे कितने लिए थे उसने?
उसी टाइम तो कम था, एक आदमी से 5,000 6,000 रुपये लेता था।
5,000 जो एजेंट थे, एजेंट ने आपसे 5,000 6,000 लिया। हाँ, फिर वहाँ से क्या बोलते हैं?
उधर बोला जो जाओ गाड़ी में बैठो, वहाँ मुसलमान बहुत है, वहाँ तुम्हारे को सुकून मिल जाएगा, कहीं न कहीं तुम्हारे को ठिकाना मिल जाएगा।
Over the years, they have spread to several parts of Jammu and even moved to Kargil and Leh. While they hold UN refugee cards, they have been committing frauds to alter that status.
में एक जरूरत ये भी है प्रॉपर वेरिफिकेशन की जरूरत है कि कुछ ऐसे रोहिंग्या भी हैं जिन्होंने आधार कार्ड बना लिए हैं, कुछ ऐसे रोहिंग्या भी हैं जिन्होंने अपना नाम वोटर लिस्ट में भी दर्ज करा दिया, यानी कि करप्शन की वजह से ये रोहिंग्या जो कि अवैध रूप से यहाँ रह रहे थे, आप भारत के सिटीजन भी बन चुके हैं। यहाँ के आपने वो आधार कार्ड वगैरह बनाया, वोटर कार्ड नहीं बनाया?
हम लोग का वही कार्ड है, सिर्फ यूनियन का कार्ड है,
वही वाला यूएन का कार्ड है आपके पास। बाकी कुछ लोगों ने तो बना लिया, यहाँ पे कुछ लोग जो पकड़े भी गए जिन्होंने
बनाया था, जो यूपी में उधर इधर जो रह रहा था आदमी उसी वजह से बनाया था, लेकिन यहाँ रहने का लिए नहीं बनाया था। कोई जगह में जाने वक्त समझ लो गाड़ी का सीट नहीं मिलता, कई जगह में रूम नहीं देता, यूनिशेयर का कार्ड लेकर रूम नहीं देता, गेट हाउस में जो अगर कोई रहना सहना होता तो नहीं मिलता, इस वजह से बनाया। अगर हम देखो एक आदमी ने बनाया था, उनका पूरा फैमिली नहीं बनाया था, तो वहाँ यहाँ थोड़ी रहेगा। अपना मुल्क जो है ना,
मैं समझ गया, जैसे आधार कार्ड बना लिया, जैसे आधार कार्ड बना लिया,
किसी का बोर्ड में आकर बनाया होगा, तुम इससे गाड़ी ले सकता, इससे अगर कई जगह में गेट हाउस ले सकता, अगर किसी जगह में जाकर अगर तुम्हारा कोई पैसा होगा तो अकाउंट भी बना सकता।
Illegal immigrants committing illegal acts to mingle into the population, possibly to conceal their more sinister designs.
जिस तरीके से शेख हसीना ने भी अपने उस बयान में बताया कि ये किन किन कारनामों में मुलविस हैं जिसकी वजह से उनके लिए भी ये खतरा बने हुए हैं, तो यही बात है भारत के लिए भी इस समय ये बहुत बड़ी चुनौती बना हुआ है, सुरक्षा एजेंसियों के लिए खास करके, क्योंकि ये जम्मू कश्मीर का इलाके की बात करें तो ये सरहदी इलाका है, यहाँ पे इनका बसना कोई इत्तेफाक नहीं हो सकता। अमित भारद्वाज के साथ प्रदीप दत्ता, टाइम्स ऑफ भारत के लिए।